I'm Alison. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Know Your Crew, and we are here to talk to you guys today about building relationships at work and why it's sometimes hard to have a meaningful conversation in the workplace and some ideas for how you can do it.
Hi, I'm Dan Manian, the co-founder and CEO. I'm going to talk a little bit about what inspired her to start Donut, and then I'll give it back to Alison to talk about why she started. So I've been doing startups for a decade or so, and over the course of that, felt this journey that maybe some of you can relate to, where in the early days we were a small, really tight-knit team, and we all knew each other really well and had a lot of camaraderie. And then as the team started to grow, was this, get to 50 or 100 people, you stop recognizing people in the hallway and, wonder what they do here. And then you get to be hundreds of people, and all of a sudden, the sales team and the engineering team hate each other and don't know why they're part of the company. So I really felt like there were a lack of tools to help leaders kind of shape culture, especially through hyper-growth phases in a company, and wanted to build something to help with that.
And my personal experience is a slightly different lens. My journey to start Know Your Crew began at my previous job, which was an innovation consulting firm called What If. And we would work with mostly large companies, Fortune 500s, to drive top-line growth. So coming up with new ideas for products or driving large culture changes focused on collaboration. And we would get the same question every time after we, the consultant facilitators, were about to wrap up and leave. How can we scale this energy, this close team cohesion that's been created through these facilitated workshops? How can we spread that throughout our global organizations? What tools can you guys lead with? And we didn't really have any. That showed us that a new approach was needed. So, build these sort of personal insights that Dan and I both shared about, what showed us there was a need for new ways to build relationships at work. We can also look at the trends in the larger space, and I think, most significantly, and this came up in one of the earlier talks, the way that organizations are structured is changing. So instead of a traditional hierarchy, it's really networks of teams that are the primary building block of organizations. And around those teams, there's not only company culture that we have to think about, but actually the culture at the team level. And it's not just interesting for leaders who are trying to drive productivity, but also around the expectations of employees themselves. And people want a sense of community when they come into the workplace. And so that team collaboration is not just important for driving outcomes, but also for keeping people engaged and happy at work. And so if we all agree that collaboration is important, what are the right approaches to building relationships that drive collaboration? We have to actually look at some of the changes that are taking place around how teams work. And I don't think any of these themes will be a surprise, but we'll just mention them because they tee up why we need to do things differently. First of all, teams are not physically located in the same place as often as they used to be. So whether people are working remotely or distributed across geographies or just on the go traveling, we need new ways of building relationships that might be digital. There's also a rise in interdisciplinary work, so teams rapidly coming together around project needs and then disbanding as those needs change. And as a result of this, there's increasing need for connecting with people who are really different, whether it's a different cultural context, different personalities, different ways of working. And the tools that people want to use in the workplace are also changing. They want to be connecting on mobile, they want to be using technology. And so that leaves us with new approaches are needed to deliver on the needs of this new modern team.
So I'm just going to share really briefly one of the things we've built at Donut and how some teams are using it, and then pass it back to Alison to share what Know Your Crew does. And then we're actually going to do a little experiment and kind of do an analog version of both products with all of you. So with Donut, what we do is we actually help you get connected with your teammates that you may not work with directly or know already. We have a bot that works on top of Slack and allows you to create a channel that when you join it, will automatically pair you up with somebody else in that channel on a regular basis. We open up a direct message that looks like this, so we instantly put you together so you can start that flow of communication. So we launched this about a year ago, and we have a lot of teams using it, and they started doing some really interesting things that we didn't expect. So one pattern is teams started taking selfies when they go out and grab coffee with each other, and then start reposting them in the Slack channel. So this kind of creates this snowball effect that not only are people connecting one-on-one, but then they're sharing this socially. We even have some companies that have gamified that, and they vote on the best selfie of the week and award prizes. Another pattern is teams using it to connect remote offices. So Culture Amp has offices all around the globe. They have the same selfie tradition, but they're actually doing it with remote meetings. And here you can actually see the time difference with beer on one side and coffee on the other. So one of the other patterns is, that we look at is what people are actually naming the Donut channel that people join, because that's actually a clue into how teams are positioning it and what they're using it for. So there's a whole bunch called Coffee Buddies, but then you see things like ping pong roulette, where people are getting matched up to go play ping pong. Or maybe some that actually have a work purpose, like sales certification, where sales members are getting paired up to practice their pitch. We have companies that have 10 or 15 Donut channels for different offices or teams or purposes like this.
So to fill you guys in on another approach that uses gamification to help people build relationships, thought I'd tell you a little story about one of our customers and how they've used Know Your Crew. So just for quick context, Know Your Crew is a digital team building app. So teams engage in team building games on a weekly basis, answering questions about themselves, sharing them with their teammates, and engaging in a game dynamic where they actually try to match who said what for points. So we'll show you a little bit about how that works, but first, we worked with the JetBlue communications team who came to us with a challenge that's really common for a modern team. They're a distributed team, they're often traveling, and they're rarely in the same place, but they're also highly collaborative. So for their communications team, they're representing different areas of the business, but they have to be aligned around their messaging. So their remit, or their question to us was, how can you help us break down silos and get connected while we're on the go? So we launched 2 Know Your Crew team building programs, which were each 5 weeks long, and I thought I would just walk you guys through one of the questions that their team engaged with. So, question 1, when people get to know me, they are always surprised that blank. So everyone on the team would have logged into their app and answered this question. You can see that this sample user revealed that they're actually an introvert. They would send this question to the rest of their crew, and then they would have to be challenged to figure out, what did Kimberly say? What did Leonard say? Someone said, when people get to know me, they're always surprised that I only sleep 4 hours a night. Someone goes roller skating every Sunday, and someone else speaks 5 languages. So this user had to take a guess based on either what they know about their teammates or trying to think about things from their perspective, and they earned points when they actually matched things correctly. And in going through this process, the goal is really to help people learn nuggets about each other that then spark larger conversations. So you're learning something interesting in the context of the app, and then we're hoping that those conversations will continue beyond just that platform. And I thought I'd share some of the results of this experience, but it also more broadly speaks to why, or what are the outcomes we should look for when we're trying to build relationships at work, trying to use a tool like Donut or Know Your Crew. So there's really 3 key things that the JetBlue team found from their experience and that we wanted to share with you guys. The first is increased awareness. So this is getting a better understanding of who you are, what are your habits, how do they impact your teammates, and then what are your teammates like, what's their personality. Second, building trust. So that means really feeling comfortable being yourself, sharing your ideas, not being afraid to have a little bit of productive conflict, and really having a high sense of what Google would like to call psychological safety in the workplace. And then finally, empathy. This is a sense of caring for the people that you work with that builds on that trust and awareness so that you can be comfortable with the diversity of opinions and ways of being. So, we thought that it would be fun to give you guys a little experience that brings together the best of Donut and Know Your Crew. And just the key takeaway around this exercise is that there's some intentionality behind it. What we're about to walk you through, and I'll pass this over to Dan in a second, may feel like something that could have happened organically, but our perspective is you actually have to structure people going out of their comfort zone to meet someone new and having conversations that lead to a meaningful interaction. So with that.
Yeah, so just building on that, one of the things that our users tell us is that we do the emotional work of initiating that conversation. So I know we already did the pass the phone thing this morning, so maybe you could turn the other direction and meet someone new around you. So we're gonna end with this and let you meet someone new, and then Alison's gonna give you what to discuss, and these are actual Know Your Crew questions for you to try.
So after you turn to that other person next to you, you can pick one of these 3 questions to share with each other. If you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be in it? What is the best thing about being an adult? What's a word people would never use to describe you? All right, go.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna shift into the coffee break in just a minute, and you can continue your conversations. But we'd actually love to get one volunteer per question who thinks they had the best sandwich or the best thing about being an adult, or a word that people would never use to describe you. So who has a good sandwich answer?
Being volunteered? All right. I don't, well, let's see, roast beef, cheddar, bacon, horseradish. It's a good sandwich.
What kind of bread?
Like French bread baguette. Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
And who's got a good best thing about being an adult?
Snuggling in the bed, eating, and watching TV.
Cool. And a word people would never use to describe you? Shy? Cool. With that, let's go to coffee break, and you guys can continue if you'd like. Thanks.